MMA is a sport where everything happens in the blink of an eye, and where even the most skilled referees often don't have enough time to react or make up their minds quickly enough, which often leads to bad decision making and late stoppages. In fact, their mistakes are so common that here we are coming with the part 3 of our UFC late stoppages series.
Surprise, surprise! The king is back!
Matt Brown vs Pete Sell. This fight was refereed by Yves Lavigne, and the outcome was quite bizarre. Sell fell like a tree after receiving a clean head kick and a right hand behind it, and initially, Lavigne stepped in to stop the fight by pulling Brown away, before randomly deciding to verbally warn him that the fight is still on, and that he needs to finish the already hurt and concussed Sell. It all looked like a scene from Mortal Kombat, where you have to execute the already finished opponent. Known for his violent instincts, Brown moved in to blast Sell with a couple of more shots to convince the ref that Sell was indeed too hurt to continue. So technically, Matt Brown, who is an all-time leader in the number of knockouts in the welterweight division, actually got 2 on the same night thanks to the brilliant decision making by Yves Lavigne.
He's saying, come on to the referee, do you want me to stop?
To his credit, Lavigne came out to admit his mistake by saying, "I screwed up, it was a rookie mistake." If you found yourself screaming at your television in frustration after this one, you were not alone.
Matt Brown was upset that fight wasn't stopped earlier.
Cory Hill vs Dale Harrt. And if the Brown vs Sell stoppage didn't make you mad, then the fight between Hill and Harrt at UFC Fight Night 16, officiated by Donnie Jessup, surely did. In the opening seconds of the second round, Hill threw a kick and his right leg literally snapped in half upon impact, and he instantly crumbled down to the canvas in pain. The worst thing is, literally everyone had seen what had happened. Everyone except the referee Donnie Jessup. Even the commentary team went completely out of their mind to start screaming, "Stop the fight," to Jessup.
Stop the fight! Stop the fight! The fight is all over. Cory Hill has suffered a broken leg.
After Hill fell down to the canvas with his leg broken in half, Harrt immediately jumped into top position, but luckily he didn't get to land any ground and pound, as Jessup, although late, realized what just happened, and he stopped the fight. Cain Velasquez vs Antonio Bigfoot Silva. Equally as horrible was watching the face of Bigfoot Silva after he got completely demolished by Cain Velasquez in the first meeting in 2012, where the referee Josh Rosenthal let Bigfoot take too much damage. At UFC 146, the fight started with Velasquez immediately getting a takedown, and he went on to beat the living hell out of Silva for the rest of the round, whipping the floor with him, utilizing high-level wrestling and demolishing him with vicious ground and pound that also opened Silva's face with blood pouring all over the floor. 2 minutes into the fight, the center of the cage was already looking like a crime scene, with Silva clearly being out of the fight. In the finishing sequence, Velasquez started raining down clean shots, and for some reason, the referee Josh Rosenthal let Silva take at least 5 extra hard shots before stepping in.
He's turning up, trying to finish it right here.
Making this one of the most memorable late stoppages. Forrest Griffin vs Rashad Evans. Now, the light heavyweight title fight between Forrest Griffin and Rashad Evans at UFC 92 is one among many reasons why people consider Steve Mazzagatti to be the worst referee in history. After a competitive 2 rounds, Rashad Evans decided to put his wrestling to work in the third, and he managed to pin already tired Griffin down to the canvas and hold him there for a few minutes. Right at the halfway point, Evans would posture up and start unloading bombs, with Griffin going out, and it's amazing how Mazzagatti didn't see this, because the champ stopped defending himself and his arms were grabbing the air. Being completely out with a beast such as Rashad landing haymakers from the top is really dangerous, and we are lucky that Griffin walked away from this one without serious consequences.
Rashad continuing to tee off. Forrest is in trouble. He's out, and it is all over.
As for Mazzagatti, well, there's more of him in this video. Weidman vs Rockhold. Moving on to Herb Dean and his role at UFC 194 in a highly anticipated middleweight title bout that saw Chris Weidman putting his belt on the line against Luke Rockhold in what ended up being the biggest moments of Rockhold's career and the turning point that marks Weidman's downfall. It was also Herb Dean's worst night in the office, as he refereed this bout as if Weidman robbed him in his past life. It all started in the third round, where Weidman made a mistake by throwing a spinning kick which enabled Rockhold to grab a body lock and advance to the ground. He immediately took his back before transitioning to full mount with more than a minute left on the clock, which he used to completely demolish Weidman with vicious punches and elbows from the top.
Herb Dean's elbows stopping it,
and everyone thought Herb Dean was about to jump in on at least 3 occasions.
He's gonna stop it.
but he didn't. Fair enough.
What does it take to stop a fight? Wow.
He gave the champ a chance to recover. Rockhold opened the 4th round with a takedown against the fence, and the beating continued, with the challenger landing dozens of unanswered shots right on Weidman's face, which was a complete mess before Dean finally made up his mind to step in.
Paul continuing to punish Weidman. That's it. It is all over.
One of the people who clearly didn't like what happened was Rockhold's head coach, Javier Mendez, who said the stoppage was a colossal mistake. Roy Nelson vs. Bigfoot Silva, where the referee Big John McCarthy proved once again that he's human after all. From the moment this fight started, it was obvious someone is about to get knocked out, with the only question of being when and who. We got the answer in the last minute of the 2nd round, when Nelson blasted Silva with a nasty uppercut to instantly send him down. So Nelson moved in to close the show with a couple of hard right hands from the top. The problem here that it was obvious Silva was out after the first one and was not intelligently defending himself, and for some reason McCarthy let Nelson land 5 additional punches.
Knocked out for Big Country.
And just as he was about to throw the 6th, Nelson himself stopped at the halfway point because Silva was clearly out, and he looked at McCarthy, who then realized it's all over. After a short celebration, Nelson would then turn and push kick the referee in the back, after which he received a 9-month suspension and a $24,000 fine.
No love lost between those two historically, and perhaps Nelson thought the stoppage should have come sooner. Wow.
Shortly after, Nelson posted a funny video of McCarthy push-kicking him in the same way backstage, and the two have put the entire incident behind them. Henderson vs. Bisping. After months of trash talking, Bisping and Henderson were set to settle their dispute at the iconic UFC 100 event, with the notorious Mario Yamasaki being the 3rd man inside the octagon. UFC 100 remains one of the most special events in sports history for various reasons, with one of the biggest being Henderson's knockout and Yamasaki's late reaction to it. As Bisping was circling away from Henderson's power hand, Henderson managed to cut him off and unleash his signature right hand known as the H-bomb, and that landed flush on Bisping's chin, instantly dropping him to the floor, and he hit the canvas as stiff as a board. Although the referee Mario Yamasaki is synonymous with late stoppages, he simply didn't have enough time to react and stop the fight on time, as everything happened so quickly. As a result, Henderson launched himself through the air to hit the unconscious Bisping with a diving elbow, a strike that was not necessary, but at the same time showed how enraged Henderson was.
This right here is revenge.
Despite the late stoppage, the knockout remains one of the most brutal yet impressive moments in MMA history. Petr vs. Jose Aldo. Seeing a veteran take massive damage late in their career is always heartbreaking, and the match between Petr and Jose Aldo, officiated by Leon Roberts, is a great example of that. It all happened at the start of the 5th round, where Jan managed to send Aldo down to the canvas with a perfect 1-2. He moved in to close the show with some ground and pound, but for a brief moment, Aldo was able to recover before starting to take heavy damage as a round entered the 3rd minute. At one point, he turtled up with his face pinned to the canvas, and Jan unleashing an astonishing 19 clean hammer fists to the side of his face. After receiving a warning from the referee, Aldo tried to move, but he didn't improve his position at all. In fact, he got blasted with around 30 more punches, elbows, and hammer fists before the referee finally realized Aldo was out of the fight. During the post-fight press conference, Dana White went on to compliment Aldo's performance and ripped the referee for the bad stoppage.
Aldo looked great. For people that were criticizing him, saying he doesn't deserve another title shot, horrible stoppage by the referee. Should have been stopped way sooner. It's like we gotta tighten up our refs and judges here on Fight Island.
Yves Edwards vs. Josh Thompson. Although no referee deserves to be pushed like Big John did, some of them deserve to be asked, what on earth are you doing? Especially Steve Mazzagatti, Mr. Late Stoppage himself, who is known for making terrible decisions inside the octagon, with the following one being among the worst.
Caught a kick right in the head.
Edwards managed to sneak behind Thompson, lock his hands and take his back, but Thompson somehow managed to separate the hands, and just as he was turning to face Edwards and separate from him, he got blasted with a wild jumping head kick that landed straight on the spot. It caught Thompson completely off guard, and he was out mid-air with his head bouncing off the canvas.
It's over. It is over.
Edwards moved in, landing at least 12 more shots before the referee finally woke up to stop the fight. Neil Magny vs Hector Lombard. At UFC Fight Night 85, Hector Lombard shared the cage with Neil Magny, with the referee Steve Perceval closely observing the action. Known as a fast starter, Lombard went on to launch a couple of his signature explosive attacks early in the fight, and he managed to rock Magny a couple of times. But Lombard is also known for his bad cardio, and he basically emptied the gas tank in the first 1.5 rounds. After dropping Magny in the second, he followed with some ground and pound, but Magny would reverse the position and immediately start unloading on him with brutal punches. Tired and hurt, Lombard was completely out of the fight, not even covering himself.
A tale of 2 rounds here. This is unbelievable. Magny looking for the stoppage here.
So Lombard got saved by the bell. Exhausted and beaten, Lombard was put back on the bottom at the start of the 3rd round, and this time Perceval mercifully rescues him after only a few strikes. It was horrible to watch, Magny landing shot after shot. One of the most vocal was Tom Wright, the UFC's managing director for operations in Canada, Australia and New Zealand, who agreed the fight should have been stopped a lot sooner. And he quoted, "It's the referee's job to make sure the fight is stopped, that the athlete can protect himself or herself. I'm sitting not quite close as the referee was, but I thought that the fight should have been stopped, and it should have been stopped a long time before." So here's to another dose of UFC's terrible late stoppages. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you like this, check out part 1 and part 2. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.